Hey guys, welcome back to Chubby Retro. Today we're going to be taking a look at EGM issue 96, which is from July 1997. Started to just jump around. I didn't want to go sequentially just because all the ads and everything are going to be continuously the same. And so I wanted to kind of change things up and compare. So let's take a look at this issue. On the top, it shows Sega 64-bit plans revealed. I'm sure they're going to be talking about a potential 64-bit system for Sega to kind of go head-to-head with the Nintendo 64, PlayStation 2. Also, the Star Wars fighting game, a polygonal Mega Man, and of course E3 preview. E3, was a big show back in the day. It's not as big now. Now a lot of the companies just do their online YouTube videos and kind of just post their new content there. And so but E3 back in the day was something to behold. I mean, that's where all the big announcements were made, and so they're going to be having a preview of that in here. And yeah, just some Resident Evil 2, Extreme G, Lamborghini 64, Robotron 64. So let's take a look. So the first ad here is an ad for Wild Arms, which was a PlayStation RPG. Like I mentioned in the past, I wasn't really an RPG guy, never really got into them. The first, I guess, pseudo RPG, action RPG was Ocarina of Time that I got, but I was never into these. It's too much work, too much thinking. There's an ad for a game called Apocalypse, which featured Bruce Willis. I know Bruce Willis was a playable character in the game, and as you know now, he's not making movies or anything anymore. He suffers from a form of, I think, dementia, and so he's kind of retired. But this was something that was coming out for PlayStation. I always saw it as I was intrigued by it, but I never played it. Magic the Gathering, the game, for PlayStation. And the insert coin, Sega developing new 64-bit Dural game system. Is it enough to turn Sega around? So, kind of talking about the potential for a new Sega system. Of course, Independence Day. Of course, that was a big hit in the theaters that summer that it came out. I think it was 96 or 97. Fun movie, very fun movie, and they released a game, of course. Never played it, so I don't know if it was good or not. Back to Wild Arms with a $10 coupon from Sears Funtronics, which was a video game department in Sears. Fighters Mega Mix for the Sega Saturn, which I believe was a kind of like a compilation, Virtua Fighter 2 versus Fighting Vipers. And so never played it, never had a Saturn, but it's a fun, cool ad. I liked these 2-page ads in the EGMs. I don't know why, I just felt like it really kind of showed off what the companies were willing to do to advertise different type of art, different styles. Some were screenshots and some were just like these really weird things that you go, how does this relate to the game? But always fun to see those 2-page ads. Here, Gaming Temptations you'll find at E3. Star Wars fighting game, Street Fighter 3D Plus, and then Clay Fighter 63 in the third, which is a game I really wanted for a Nintendo 64. I never got it, and I think this is very valuable in the secondary market now. Herc's Adventures for PlayStation and Saturn, the game that I remember this ad. I don't remember playing it. I never played it, but pretty fun. Once again, a 2-page ad, fun artwork. So this here talking about the Dural, rumored 64-bit system for Sega, and it's talking about the competition, how the 64DD will be out whenever Sega strikes. Of course, it never came out. The M2, which was a mystery machine, that never came out. PlayStation 2, and then Neo Geo 64. So yeah, just kind of talking about the specs that they anticipate. CD-ROM, operating system, Microsoft API. Well, I mean, didn't they use Microsoft for Dreamcast? So this was probably Dreamcast, which I don't think was 64-bit. And then the famous tigergame.com handheld, a system that I was really confused about because I think at that point I thought handhelds were beyond the black and white era. And this was a cheaper system that came out. They had different games for it. It was black and white. I mean, pretty clear black and white as opposed to the yellow, green, mustard Game Boy. But the name always kind of tripped me out. Game.com. It was probably piggybacking on the .com craze. The internet was new, and so that's where they kind of. But I always thought it was just really weird. Machine Hunter coming soon. This here was like a what is it? Power Glove that came out for multiple systems. I don't know if it was very good. And then the Tamagotchis and the Gigapets. And look at what am I? New AI programmable controllers are loaded to the gill. So they were even talking about AI back in '97. Nowadays everything is AI. They were talking about it in '97 with the controller. And then this is a ball blazer for PlayStation. So it's like a soccer game with vehicles. A soccer game with vehicles. Interesting. I feel like I've seen that somewhere. So Sony vibrates past the competition. So this is obviously Sony's DualShock, which was their answer to the Nintendo 64's Rumble Pack. But they figured, let's build it into the controller. So that's cool. $30. Now the controller's like 70, 80. So, and then this, what is this? Only for EGM subscribers. The Sushi X-Files, a guide to the weird offbeat stuff EGM couldn't print until now. Oh my goodness, look at this baby born with a Saturn controller for a hand. Jeez. First Toasted Ho 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 award entry. So I guess this is a little insert that came with subscriber editions of the magazines. These controllers here, I remember, I thought they were interesting looking. I thought they were probably very comfortable. I don't know about that D-pad though, but and it had an extra long 8-foot cord, which was great because sometimes you had to sit really close to the systems. And then this is the top 10 picks of the month. So we'll just look over the top 3 for each system. PlayStation was, of course, Wild Arms, which we discussed earlier, Dynasty Warriors, and Tekken 2. Nintendo 64, it was Star Fox 64, Blast Corps, and International Superstar Soccer. Me being a Nintendo guy, I remember those 3 games vividly. Star Fox, of course, was a really good edition of Star Fox. Very fun. Blast Corps was a game that I really enjoyed, and I did not think when we first got it that it was almost like we just bought it just to have a new game. But when we played it, it was like, wow, this game is different. It's fun. Very enjoyable game. If you haven't played it yet, I think it's not on the Virtual Console. But yeah, it's a very fun game. International Superstar Soccer, which was Konami's soccer game. 3D, very fun. Very, very fun. I'm not a big soccer guy, so I didn't know the players and all that. I didn't know which teams were best. I would always pick Brazil because I guess back in the day they were good, and really enjoyed that game. One of my favorite Nintendo 64 sports games besides Wayne Gretzky's 3D hockey. For the Sega Saturn, number 1 is Mega Man 8, Street Fighter Alpha 2, and Pandemonium. So the overall, the number 1 game was Wild Arms, number 2 was Star Fox 64, and number 3 was Blast Corps. Pretty good games. The Samsung GX TV, very, very cool TV. Problem with it, it was only 13-inch. and I always thought that 13 inches, it was like too small, but I liked the subwoofer and the speakers. It was a cool TV. An ad for Oddworld, and then some gaming gossip. So they're talking about the 64-bit chipset, the Quake movie that was in the works. I don't know if that ever came out. Atari versus Street Fighter. Nintendo has a dream. The dream was probably, what was next? GameCube? Pac-Man goes 3D, and Sony angers 2D developers. He's skinny and he wears a loincloth and has no weapons. 3-page ad. Very cool. This is a game that I always thought was fun. 2D side scroller. It was something different. Very enjoyable. And then these are some previews. Lamborghini 64, a game that was really fun, really good. Robotron 64, never played. Extreme G, one of my favorite racing games. It just felt so fast. It felt so fast. Along with like F-Zero. Like those two games, I remember they felt like they were fast. And then Tonic Trouble, a game that I don't think I ever played. Wild 9 for Saturn and PlayStation. I think this was an RPG, but what a pretty cool ad. Very nice ad. Mortal Kombat Mythologies, which ended up being the Sub-Zero one. I think that, I never played it. I think that was like a 2D side-scroller starring Sub-Zero. Marvel Superheroes, Return Fire 2 Kart World Series. This is a game that I never got. Never understood it. It seemed really weird. I know it was a fighting game, but it was just these gods, and I don't know, it just kind of tripped me out. But here's an ad for it, and I think it came out on Nintendo 64 and PlayStation. An ad for Forsaken, preview for Forsaken, a preview for Armored Core, and X-Men versus Street Fighter, which I believe has now come out on the new compilation that Capcom put out, X-Men and or Marvel versus Street Fighter. An ad for Tenka. This game, I always thought of Turok when I would see screenshots of that game. More previews. Now there was a lot of previews because E3 was coming out. So Steel Rain, Tomb Raider 2, and Nightmare Creatures. And then you have over here for PC, Atomic Bomberman. The best multiplayer game ever. A 2-page ad for Thunder Truck Rally on PlayStation. Preview for Namco Arcade Classics, a game called One and Machine Hunter. An ad for Ogre Battle. A preview for Croc, which I believe recently released. There was a re-release, remaster. Test Drive 4, Breath of Fire 3, Rollerball, Overboard, Cyberdeck, Colony Wars, and Formula 197. I always liked these little short previews in EGM because I always felt like it was just enough to kind of get you interested. You would look at this game and go, wow, that looks interesting, that looks kind of cool. And then it would help build anticipation. Sometimes when they showed too much, especially previews when it was before the game was coming out, when there was a lot of stuff that could still change, I didn't like that because I always felt like, well, you showed me one thing and then it looked completely different. Just like the early footage from Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time that Nintendo showed when they first announced it, and they showed Link fighting with a sword, some type of bad guy, and it looked really good. You know, there was no backgrounds or anything, but just looked really good. And it looked different when it came out on Nintendo 64. It was, you know, blocky and what have you. So I liked when they would show just a little tidbit. So the game of the month is Wild Arms. So I got a 9 from Crispin, 8.5 by Sean, 9 by Dan, and 8.5 by Sushi X. 3 for replay value. And so here's another, have a virtual toga party. This is thick. This is a thick stock here. Oh, this is cool. So you see, I don't want to open it too much because then it'll probably tear, but another ad for Herc's Adventure. So they had two full page ads. And I mean, this thing is cool. I mean, it's a pop-up, and so very cool. And then in the back of it, it has a kind of a preview of Star Wars Rebel Assault, Dark Forces. So, and then here, Hexen 64, I remember we bought that game before seeing the previews, and then we hated it. We hated it. And of course, you could see the scores. I wish I would have waited. Pandemonium, 8.5, 8.5, 8 and 8. Sega Ages, Battle Sport, Swagman, Dynasty Warriors, and an ad for Raystorm. Let me fix this camera because I kind of... And then a ad for Albert Odyssey, Broken Helix, Ball Blazer Champs, and Namco Museum 4. And then, of course, an ad for Hexen. And I remember, yeah, that was a big thing. Supports 4 players on N64 because of the controller ports. It just, I don't know, it wasn't a fun game. I think I was expecting something different. It was not GoldenEye. So here's some tricks of the trade for Need for Speed 2. Independence Day. So if anybody has those games, you want to pause the video, you can take a look and go back and use all these cheats. An ad for Swagman. Very cool artwork. Star Fox 64, War Gods. She'll kick your butt at E3 and beyond, dead or alive. And then some more for Tobal 2, Fade to Black, Spider, Soviet Strike, Nanotech Warriors, Ball Blazer Champions. Trickman reference guide. Okay, so they put in here a reference if you ever want to look for a certain game, it'll kind of show you which issue to go back on. Some cheats for Command and Conquer, Mech Warrior 2, and Manix TT. An ad for MDK. This was a game that was kind of advertised a lot in a lot of the magazines. I don't remember if it was a good game or not. So here's like a preview special feature on Gex or Gex, the gecko, 3D version. I believe it was for PlayStation. I don't know if he was an official like mascot or if it was just Crystal Dynamics mascot, but yeah, I remember this game came out. Triple Play 98, baseball. So here's a preview of all the games that are going to be at E3 from the different publishers, developers. 3DO, they have a couple games for PlayStation coming up, Acclaim, Extreme G, Fantastic Four, Quarterback Club 98. And so it just kind of shows you what everybody was going to be showing. Bomberman 64 from Hudson, Silicon Valley for Nintendo 64, which ended up being a good game, DreamWorks, and of course EA with Madden 98, NBA 98, Abe's Odyssey. There's actually a interesting documentary on Amazon Prime about the development of Madden. I think it's like 4 episodes. I just started it yesterday, but it's pretty interesting, pretty intriguing how all that happened and how the relationship with Nintendo and Sega, how those were affected and changed due to Madden. It's pretty interesting. Mission Impossible, that was a game that I was really interested in. I thought it was going to be more of like a GoldenEye. It wasn't as good, but it was fun. It's no fun playing with crap. Some more previews, Bomberman, and then some accessories here. Naki. Don't know anything about those accessories. I think they were really kind of cheap. Skull Monkeys, Felony, and of course Dark Rift, which was a fighting game. More previews of Breath of Fire 3 and RPG, a preview, early preview and misspelling of Castlevania 64. This must be worth a lot of money because it was misspelled, a misprint. And then Nightmare Creatures, Dynasty Warriors, a fighting game for PlayStation as well. Oh, some peripherals. Cool controller. And then a fold out Star Fox 64 poster. So as you see, I mean, it's probably my OCD, but I didn't ever tear any of this out. I didn't ever cut any coupons. I didn't want to mess up my magazines. And you know, it's kind of good I didn't do that. I mean, I didn't even tear these out. I mean, look, I did save a lot of stuff. And it's funny because I do have this one binder, like those photo album binders that I used to cut out the ads for Nintendo 64. I used to cut out any ad, like a Target ad came in the newspaper, I would cut out the Nintendo 64 stuff and I would stick it in this binder. And so I have this collection of cut out ads from for Nintendo 64 and Super Nintendo, I think. I don't know where it's at. I wonder if I still have it. It may be gone. But if I find it, I'd love to take a look at it. Very interesting. So here we go again. Just a story, a feature on transforming Bruce Willis from movie star to Game Boy. Because like we mentioned, he was in that Apocalypse game. And then here you have all the ads for the stores. More on the Apocalypse game. And then Soledad O'Brien, who was married to Miles O'Brien. She did a show about technology on the site on MSNBC. I never watched it, but I guess they were advertising it. And so here we go, Star Wars, a fighting game. Huge Star Wars fan. I'm a huge Star Wars fan, but the weird thing is I've never played this game. I don't know why. I was never interested. I never wanted to play it. I don't think it was even that good, but yeah, I never played this game. So if anybody had played it, was it good? Leave a comment, let me know. Maybe I should try to look for it, check it out, but I had no interest, and even now I have no interest in playing it. It just looks really bad graphically, but who knows, it could have been good. Now these are the fun games. Street Fighter Plus Alpha. 3D Street Fighting hits a PlayStation. But you see how this, I mean, this just looks cleaner. It looks cleaner than the Star Wars game. I mean, just these screenshots look fuzzy and pixelated. I don't know, it did not look enticing. I mean, this looks, and I know 3D fighting was in its infancy, but this looks a lot better. Clay Fighter 63 and a third. It's coming out in July. It's also on PlayStation. I never got that. And here's an ad. This was a cool ad because it was a parody of Mortal Kombat. And I liked that Clay Fighter did that. They would kind of parody other games. And this was an ad that was parodying Mortal Kombat. And you have Booger Man up there. But yeah. Sonic Jam, which is a Saturn 3D Sonic, I believe. Yeah. Shining the Holy Ark. Warcraft 2, The Dark Saga, the best strategy game ever? Question mark. I don't know. You guys tell me. Was it good? Tobal 2, which was a fighting game. Excalibur. If Lara Croft and King Arthur ... Interesting. Wrecking Crew. And then last minute update, Multi-Racing Championship, Resident Evil 2 previews, G Police preview.
Mega Man Neo, it's like a 3D Mega Man, Batman and Robin, Skull Monkeys, Blasto, Tekken 3, Darkstalkers, and Silicon Valley, which ended up being, I think, Space Station Silicon Valley. Quarterback Club for Nintendo 64. We had that one. I remember this one. They pushed that it was high res, and it did look better. It looked cleaner, clearer, crisper than Madden. But as you can see, the character models were kind of weird looking, and it was not as good as Madden eventually became. Madden 64 was a little clunky. Moto Racer, MLB 98, VR Baseball 97. Some what are these sports scores? ISS 64, like I mentioned earlier, very good game, 9.5 and 9. Need for Speed, Rush Hour, All-Star Baseball 97, Video Game Spot. Letters to the Editor. Some cool envelope art, that's really nice. And next month, previews of EGM 2 and EGM proper with the special E3 issue. Of course, a gaming rig that I always wanted to win, and then some ads for purchasing of systems and games. And then the final ad, Game Shark. Kind of scary. And the back is World Series Baseball 98. So this issue came in at what, 120, 22, 24, 25, 125 pages. So thanks a lot for watching. Have more stuff coming for you guys, and I appreciate the support, everybody that's subscribed to my channel, everybody that watches me. I'm trying to build this up, trying to do things that interest you guys. So please let people know about my channel, let your friends know about my channel, anybody that you think is into this stuff, this retro kind of content. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. See you on the next one.